That was the first thought that crossed my mind the night my entire world collapsed like a fragile glass vase. I remember the sting on my cheek, the sudden heat spreading under my skin, and the metallic taste of fear rising in my throat. I stood frozen near the kitchen sink, the half-cut vegetables still lying on the cutting board, a dinner I would never finish cooking. My husband, Ryan, towered over me, his chest rising and falling in anger. His fingers still trembled from the slap he had just landed on my face. Until that moment, Ryan had never raised a hand to me. He had been stern, sometimes cold, but he had not been violent. So when it happened, the shock was sharper than the pain. "What did you expect?" he growled, his voice so deep it scraped the air. "When I come home and see that mess?" That mess. He was talking about the laundry I hadn't folded yet, the dishes left soaking because my boss had called me in for an unexpected late shift. He was talking about trivial things, things that didn't matter. But in his mind, they were enough to justify hurting me. "You know better than to leave the house like this," he grunted, picking up the glass of water on the table and drinking furiously, as if my fear had exhausted him. I touched my face gently. The area around my cheekbone was already swelling. Tears gathered in my eyes, not of pain, but of betrayal. The man I had married, the man who once waited hours outside my college when my phone died, had just bruised my face. The sense of safety I once felt around him cracked instantly. "You hit me," I whispered, barely able to process the words. "If you acted right, I wouldn't have to," he snapped, placing the glass down with a thud. And then he walked past me, calm, almost casual, and sat on the couch, turning on the TV as if nothing had happened. The sound of the news anchor's voice filled the silence between us, drowning the heartbeat pounding in my ears. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the ache pulsate from my cheek into my soul. My brain repeated the same question again and again. What did I do wrong? But another voice, quieter but stronger, whispered, "You didn't deserve this." And that is when the idea was born. A silent decision that began as a flicker, but grew until it filled my entire being. The next morning, I would serve him breakfast. But not the kind he expected. Not the kind any husband would imagine. And that breakfast would change everything. I woke up before Ryan, something I normally never did because he worked early mornings. But today I had a reason, an unshakable determination growing inside my chest. The mirror confirmed what I already felt. A deep purple bruise spread across my left cheek, darkening around the bone. A part of me wanted to hide it, cover it with makeup. Another part wanted him to see exactly what he had done. But I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to fight. I wasn't going to scream. No, I had a better plan, one that would expose the truth he had hidden from me for years. Because the bruise wasn't the only thing hurting me. I had discovered something that changed everything I thought I knew. A week before the slap, I found a strange bank statement in our mailbox, one with withdrawals I didn't understand. I noticed secret payments, midnight transactions, money sent to a woman whose name I had never heard. At first, I doubted myself. Maybe Ryan was helping someone. Maybe it was a mistake. But the truth became clear when I followed him 2 days later. He wasn't working overtime. He wasn't with friends. He wasn't running errands. He was with her. At a cafe. Laughing, holding hands, smiling the way he stopped smiling at me years ago. And when she touched his cheek, he didn't flinch. He leaned into her hand like she was his home. I had said nothing. I had held it inside my chest like a burning coal. But when he slapped me, The coal turned into a wildfire. Now, standing in the kitchen with eggs cracking under my fingers, I quietly prepared breakfast like a devoted wife. The pan sizzled softly, but my mind was calm, focused. I placed everything neatly onto the dining table. Eggs, toast, fresh orange juice, butter, and jam. And an envelope, sealed, white, and heavy with truth. The envelope was what mattered. Inside were printed screenshots of his bank transactions, photos of him at the cafe with the other woman, a copy of a divorce petition, and one final note that simply said, "Enjoy your breakfast. This is the last one you will ever get from me." When Ryan finally walked into the kitchen, yawning, rubbing his neck lazily, he stopped, suddenly, because he saw my face, the bruise, the purple mark he had left on my skin. He froze. Then his expression shifted. Guilt, shock, annoyance. A mix of emotions flickered across his features. "What happened to your face?" he asked, stiffly. "You happened." He opened his mouth, then closed it. No apology, no regret, just a cold silence. And then he noticed the envelope on the table. "What's this?" he asked, suspiciously. "Breakfast," I said, but not the kind he expected. Not at all. He sat down slowly, picking up the envelope as if it contained a bomb. And, in a way, it did. He opened it. At first, he didn't react. His eyes scanned the papers quietly. Then his face drained of color. Where did you get these?" he stuttered, flipping through the photos, looking at his own face, smiling at another woman. "Where I got them doesn't matter. Why you get this does. You don't understand," he stammered, panic creeping into his voice. "No," I said softly. "You didn't understand when you hit me." His jaw clenched. "I made a mistake. You made many mistakes, but the slap, that was your last." He stood up suddenly, the chair scraping the floor harshly. "You can't do this. Divorce me? On what grounds? You think you can ruin my life because of one argument?" "One argument?" I repeated, laughing sadly. "Is that what you call it? A man bruising his wife's face is not an argument. It's violence." He paced around the dining table like a trapped animal. "We can fix this." "No," I said firmly. "I already fixed it." I pushed a second document toward him, a temporary restraining order request. I had already filed the paperwork. Today, I just needed his reaction. And oh, it was exactly as I expected. "You're insane. You want to destroy me." "I want to free myself," I replied. "This is not happening." His voice shook with anger and desperation. "You think you can just walk away?" "Yes," I said simply. "I can." "And what about the house, the bills, the car? You can't handle that alone." A small smile touched my lips. "Who says I'll be alone?" Ryan stopped. His eyes narrowed. "What do you mean by that?" I walked to the counter and picked up my phone. "I mean, I'm not the only one who knows the truth." I pressed a button, and then... When Ryan's mother, Linda, walked through the door, he went pale. She was a stern woman, dignified, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had always seen me as a polite, obedient daughter-in-law. Today, she would see me differently. "Mom," Ryan whispered, shock in his voice. She looked at me first, and her face softened. "Oh my God, sweetheart, what happened to your face?" Before I could answer, she turned to Ryan. "What did you do?" Ryan's mouth opened and closed like a struggling fish. It was just, she misunderstood. She pushed me. I pushed you? I repeated loudly. Or did you push your hand across my face? Silence. Linda looked horrified. My son hit you? Ryan tried again. Mom, it was not. Don't lie to me, she snapped. I handed her the envelope. She read the contents slowly, her hand trembling as she flipped through the photos. When she reached the divorce paperwork, she let out a long, shaky breath. You cheated on your wife? She said, her voice breaking. And then you laid a hand on her? Ryan ran a hand through his hair. I didn't mean, it just happened. I was angry. No excuse, she cut him off. No excuse in this world. He looked helplessly between us, his voice cracking. Mom, please, don't take her side. I'm not taking sides, she said sharply. I'm standing with what is right. Then she looked at me. You're doing the right thing, dear. I felt tears burn in my eyes, but this time they were tears of relief. Thank you, I whispered. Linda turned to her son with a look so cold it could freeze mountains. You will leave this house today. What? Ryan shouted. You can't throw me out. Oh yes, she said quietly. I can, and I will. His voice rose, desperate and wild. This is my house. No, she corrected. This house was bought with my money when you and she needed help, and I decide who stays. He fell silent, completely defeated. Linda looked at me. Take your time, pack your things, I'll help you. Ryan's face twisted in disbelief. You're choosing her over me? I'm choosing decency over violence. Her words hit him harder than any slap he could have delivered. Within an hour, Ryan was gone, dragging a small suitcase behind him, shouting curses that echoed down the street. But his voice no longer held power over me. Not anymore. Linda closed the door and turned to me with tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry he hurt you. I'm sorry too, I whispered, but I needed to leave. You did the bravest thing a woman can do, she said softly. You stood up for yourself. I looked at the half-eaten breakfast still on the table, cold eggs, untouched toast, and the empty envelope lying open like a wound that had finally been exposed to the light. That breakfast wasn't food. It was truth. It was freedom. It was the beginning of my new life. I packed my clothes, my documents, and the few memories I wanted to keep. When I finally stepped outside, Linda hugged me tightly. You will be okay, she whispered. Yes, I said, smiling through tears. For the first time in years, I know I will. As I walked away from the house that once held my dreams, the morning sun warmed my bruised face. The pain was still there, but so was strength, greater than anything I had ever known. And that was the real ending. Not the slap, not the betrayal, not the heartbreak, but the moment I chose myself. The moment I served a breakfast